Hi everybody, Michelle McClunan, astrologer and life navigator, and I'm bringing you an astrology update for the next new moon, which is happening on the 1st of November in the sign of Scorpio. We always say that new moons and full moons are powerful points in our calendar, but this one is definitely no exception to that rule. This new moon is very potent in terms of transformation because it's signaling really the death of the old and the starting of the beginning of the new. So when we look at the energies of a new moon, just to remind you that a new moon is always a time to plant new seeds for a new beginning. And that's the case of every single month we have a new moon. And this one is in Scorpio, which is a very fertile, feminine new moon. Very feminine new moon indeed. Scorpio is the sign that is related to intensity. It's the sign of deep emotion. I see Scorpio, if you look at it sort of as an analogy, it's a water sign. It's what we call a fixed water sign, which is very similar to, if you could imagine, a lake of water, which goes really deep, but which you don't see the depth necessarily when you just look on top of the surface of this beautiful placid lake. Underneath the surface, there might be a whole lot going on in terms of depth and all sorts of jewels and all sorts of things underneath the surface, including shadows and wriggly bits lurking in the shadows. That is Scorpio. So Scorpio is ruled, all the signs have rulerships, and Scorpio is ruled by the planet Pluto as well as the planet Mars. It's a joint rulership. So the ancient rulership is Mars and the more modern rulership is Pluto. Now those two, Pluto and Mars, are right now, as we speak, leading up to this new moon, opposite each other. Not only are they opposite each other, they are also at the very, 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 very end of their respective signs. So Mars is at the very end, the 29th degree of Cancer, and Pluto is at the 29th degree of Capricorn, which we've been talking about a lot over the last few months because Pluto has been hovering at that degree for a very long time. Pluto's journey around the zodiac takes 248 years, and this particular journey that he's been making in the sign of Capricorn, he's been on this journey since 2008. So this new moon is the last new moon that we're going to see, which integrates the Plutonian energy in Capricorn. So it's the end of a very long cycle. Now, being in an opposition to Mars, it's quite volatile. So when you look at Scorpio, the sign, which is where the sun and the moon are, that on its own can be quite volatile. It's very definitely an introspective sign. It's a deeply feminine sign. Think of the lake, water, deep emotion emerging from the unconscious underneath the surface for transformation. So it can feel a little bit shadowy. It can feel that the shadow is coming up. Unresolved shadow stuff might be coming up at this time, and that would play out wherever 9 degrees of Scorpio sits in your chart. So that's why it's useful to know where these things are in your chart, because what we do is we have 12 houses, which are different areas in life in your chart. And so wherever we do a new moon or a full moon broadcast, or there's a major alignment, you look to see where that's playing out in your chart. So, for example, if let's just say 9 degrees of Scorpio is in your house of relationships, then it could mean that deep feelings, deep processing, deep transformation is coming up for you in that house. The same would apply to, for example, if the new moon was in the house of finances, then it might be through your finances, your resources, your earning ability, the economy in terms of your own personal economy. So that's how we work with the natal chart to see how this sort of collective energy works with us personally. So that's on the one level. It's deep, it's emotional, it's alchemical, which actually has 3 different layers. The bottom layer, which is what most people know of with Scorpio, is the scorpion. That's only one layer of Scorpio. And that would be the scorpion that's on the ground and is stood on or hurt in some way and then lashes out by biting you. And that's what a lot of people know Scorpios to be, but that's not it. Scorpio is a deeply, deeply transformative sign. So they can very often, Scorpio people or people with a very strong Scorpio overlay or essence in their charts, can often be catalysts for other people to transform. They can often help other people to transform by sometimes putting their finger right on the point that needs transformation. So it's a very observant sign. It's the sign of the investigator, the sign of the detective. Scorpio energy wants to go underneath the surface, clear what's there, bring it up to the surface so that you can see it in the light of day. So it exposes the shadow. It basically shines the light into the shadow bits. And that can be uncomfortable for people who don't want to do that. The next layer of Scorpio is the all-seeing eagle. So if you liken it to, for example, a fish eagle, which sits on the branch, if you watch a fish eagle, for example, that fish eagle will come down, swoop in at its own time and go directly to a fish underneath the water and generally actually be accurate enough to pick the fish up out of the water. So it's very tenacious, it's got telescopic vision, it can see into the depths of the water, which is the depths of emotion, and bring it out to the surface, which is why I use the image of the fish eagle. And then another archetype associated with Scorpio is the phoenix rising from the ashes, which suggests that something has to be burnt and finished in order for something new to be rebirthed. So Scorpio is the sign which relates to death, rebirth, and regeneration. So that on its own is the energy of a new moon in Scorpio. That new moon in Scorpio has a really beautiful alignment with Saturn, which is assisting us in actually being wise enough and mature enough to look at those shadow areas, to bring them out and to actually see whether they are serving us or not, and what seeds we want to plant for the next season of our transformation. Now, when we look at the two rulers, which is Mars and Pluto, as I said, once again, you would look to your natal chart to see where Mars and where Pluto is, the alignment of the two houses that are actually working with you. And it's an opposition, which means that there's always a push-pull energy when there's an opposition. And this doesn't happen every day, Mars and Pluto, particularly not when it's right close to the new moon. This energy is quite volatile. It can be quite controlling. It's very intense. It's very passionate. It can be overreactions. Mars can be the planet of war. It can be the planet of aggression. It can be the planet of violence. Pluto can bring that anger up to the surface for transmutation, because Pluto is the planet of transformation. So you could see it as Pluto is transforming the anger, the resentment, the reactivity that lies underneath the surface of the water, the surface of our consciousness. When you look at where Mars is in Cancer. Cancer is the sign of family, home, security, that sense of being held, the sense of belonging. So anything associated with not feeling like you belong, not feeling like you're held, not feeling like you're nurtured could come up at this new moon. However, again, this is a very transformative new moon. So what it says to me is that this has the potential, this new moon, of transforming the shadow into the light. It really, really does. It's a moon where the truth wants to come up. Scorpio, Pluto wants the truth to come up. Not in an aggressive way, not in an angry way, which could happen at this new moon. So deep breaths are necessary. This is a bit of a trigger warning, particularly if you're feeling uncomfortable, insecure, unlovable, unloved. This is the new moon to really look at what you're carrying inside you, because that could be triggered by somebody outside of you. Having said all of that, which is all kind of heavy, it does feel a little bit heavy, I must say. So to lighten up this energy, we also have a kite and a grand trine. So when we have three planets all in a triangle, trining each other, which means they're trine to each other, basically that forms a grand trine. This is a grand water trine, which is an emotional trine, which means that it's a letting go energy, it's a clearing energy. In addition to that, we also have another little triangle at the top leading to Pluto, and Pluto is the transformer. So it feels to me that that is a very supportive energy for us to transform and transmute. And it feels almost that this is a kind of a pressure cookery energy, and that there is a release point. And that release point would be to employ the imagery of that kite, which is to come into, if you're in a sort of a conflict or a polarity or a misalignment with somebody else or with yourself or with the world around you, to come back into kind of the middle. So instead of being polarized from either side, to come back into the middle, is imagine that you could rise yourself up above the situation to a higher level of consciousness, look down and say, yes, this is what's going on. I can feel it. I can intuit it. Feel the feelings that you feel, but don't believe the stories around the feelings. And that, as we do that, that starts to actually transmute this energy. So it's very powerful. I would say definitely take some time off, some time out on Friday or Friday night to clear, to connect, to breathe, to connect to the heart, to come out of the head, and to set new intentions from the heart. I would also say, based on something else that we have, which is Mercury opposite Uranus, I think there's going to be a lot of craziness in the media. I think that there's going to be a lot of overwhelm, a lot of busyness, a huge amount of information coming from all parts as we approach, for example, the American election, which I know everybody's talking about, but it is a big deal because it does have an effect on everybody. So this energy is going to be very much around at the election. So we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully this sort of flowing energy, this kite, will help to lift the consciousness and to lift the energy from this sort of dark, shadowy energy that is around right now. So I think that is just sort of some trigger warnings, some reminders to just really, really come back into your center this week for sure, really. This is the last time we're going to see a new moon, which implicates Pluto in Capricorn, because on the 20th of November, Pluto finishes his journey in Capricorn and moves into a different sign. That is a major shift in the collective. It's not just us. So whatever's showing up in your life, it's not showing up by mistake. It's showing up because Pluto is the evolutionary planet, and this is about our souls evolving. So whatever it is, if we can just accept that this is part of the whole picture and that we signed up for this, then there's a level of acceptance in that. So just remember to breathe deeply, keep coming back into the center. And if you need to get some perspective, imagine that you could rise above whatever situation it is and see it from a higher perspective, from a higher level of consciousness, which is really what is happening with our evolution of human consciousness, which we're busy going through. If you're enjoying this, please would you remember to subscribe. Click the notification button so you get notified when I post something, which is every 2 weeks or so. And comment. Let us know how you are navigating this energy. Any advice that you can give to others. Comment section is often rich with advice. And share it if you feel that that might be helpful to someone else. It also helps us to get the message out. So I wanted to pick a card for us because this is a biggie. And this card was very clearly showing herself to us. It's out of the Divine Feminine pack by Megan Watterson again. And we've had this card before, but not for a long time. And it's the card, the name is called Archetypes. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a fascinating card, which is very Scorpionic. She represents, it's the goddess of never not broken, never not broken. And her message is everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. So Archetypes, who she is. I'm going to read this one to you because I think it's valid. Aquilanda represents the essence of the phoenix. She is the indestructible energy that embraces change. Big theme right now. She knows that everything is conspiring to transform her into only more love and light. Aquilanda is an elusive goddess from Hindu mythology. Her full name is Aquilanda Shvari. Ishvari in Sanskrit means female power or goddess, and Aquilanda means never not broken. She can never be broken because she always is. She is the embodiment of what we try to avoid, the dissolution of our ego's identity. And this is a very big theme that we're going through in our conscious evolution. Her power is unparalleled. She radiates the potent light and joy that's the goal of change, transformation, or pain. There's very little written about her. She is meant to be known through experience. She is an intimate Scorpio, interior Scorpio goddess that we meet when we're in the darkest moments of grief and heartbreak. She shows us where our energy is trapped, where we have been stifled in routines or others' expectations of us. She whispers the liberation we will experience once we let ourselves break open and allow the new expression of ourself to become blazing through. She reminds us that we always have the power to choose to see every event as yet another opportunity to become more light, to become more of the radiant soul that we are here to be. Very potent. When your soul selects this card, many of us exert tremendous energy in an effort to not break or fall apart. We resist our grief, our heartbreak, or we deny the need to change until the choice no longer feels like ours. Something sideswipes us in our ordinary life and shatters who we think we are and how we identify ourselves. Here's what she reminds us. Vulnerability is our greatest strength. If we are always broken, we can never break. She is the most intimate and personally powerful goddess because she meets us in those moments when we feel most alone, most exposed, and most afraid. She models how to thrive in the midst of change. She uses pain to joyfully and purposefully transform. She sees everything as an opportunity to release what is not serving her. And she knows that feeling broken isn't a failure or something that we should avoid. It's actually the whole point. We are here to let our ideas of ourselves go up in flames, so that beneath the ashes, the soft core of who we truly are arises. And so that we remember that it's not the heart that ever breaks, it's the ego. The heart only ever expands. The soul voice meditation is what heartbreak can I see now as an opportunity to expand. Everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. So I think that kind of explains the Scorpio new moon with Mars and Pluto opposite each other and a whole lot else. So let's move through this gracefully. Let's keep our center in the midst of chaos because it is pretty chaotic out there. Let's take time to just settle in to this moment and to trust that what is happening needs to happen. What is leaving needs to leave. What needs to stay will stay. And that we're being guided on this journey and that we can trust life. That's really what this is about. And let go of what we don't need anymore to carry. I hope that's helped you to kind of get a sense of the energies that are building. And you will be feeling this energy already because it's building up towards the new moon, and you'll also feel it after the new moon. So keep this process of going within, clearing, feeling, keep that going. Allow yourself to be the safe place to feel what you need to feel without trying to analyze it, without trying to understand it, without trying to work out what the story is. Just feel the feelings, the raw feelings, just the way they are as they come up with no judgment. That's the holding space of Scorpio, and it's the holding space of that beautiful lake of water. Imagine this beautiful receiving energy that's going to hold you and support you in your process. If you'd like to see this, how this plays out in your natal chart, particularly these very big alignments, like Pluto leaving one sign and going into the other, where it's going to be for 20 years, then you're welcome to book a session with me. If you've had your chart done before, then what we do is look at the solar return, which is a yearly chart, and we also look at the transits to your chart. In other words, where Saturn is, where Pluto is, where all these outer planets are, and the axis, the places, the houses that those are playing out in will help you to actually navigate the energy. So you're welcome to contact me via my website. The description is below, and you can email me there so we can set up a session. I do have a little bit of a delay, but contact me and we can set it up for a few weeks' time. In our inner space community, we are also working with this theme of personal empowerment, of transformation, of transmutation. So the inner space community is a community that I run with my partner John Homewood, and we meet twice a month for 2 90-minute calls, and this month is focused on this energy because it's so big at this time of the year. So you're welcome to join us there for a month or for a year. It's a beautiful community, very supportive, and we move through different kind of stages and different themes together as a community, aligning with the energy of the astrology at the time. Thanks so much again for listening or for watching. Take care and make sure to nurture and nourish yourself through this new moon.